Let's try. Yo, quick sound check with Paddy. Here we go.
Quick sound check. Hello, I'm Paddy Jervis. Yeah, you can. Yeah, do you want to pop over
No.
and say hello as well?
No. No need for Jonny. That's fine.
No need for Jonny.
Just play the guitar.
Lovely. I haven't tuned yet. Oh. Cool. It's coming through on the stream.
Great.
I might need to turn my mic up a touch.
That's fine. Do that.
Okay. Isn't this lovely? We'll be hello everyone. We'll be going live in a bit. By the way, this is just the sound check between Paddy and Rob. Jonny is putting his daughter to bed, and we have guests arriving in about 5 minutes, and then we can go live at 7 p.m.
I'm gonna. Cool. Fab. We will talk tech afterwards. See you all in a bit.
Great. Later.
Good evening, hello, and welcome to a show for Trowbridge. My name's Jonny Donahoe.
And my name's Paddy Jervis.
Traditionally, we're known as Jonny and the Baptists. We are a musical comedy group.
Yep.
What we're doing tonight, Paddy, this is... Why didn't you do this before we started?
I know,
You've made us look very haphazard.
Well, we are, so we might as well be honest.
I think I was trying to go for super professional tonight.
Oh.
Thank you so much for joining us. What we're doing at the moment is we're doing an Arts Council England sponsored project called
Here and Now, from Future Arts
Centres. And
I do the admin.
yes, that's very true.
Yeah.
There are 40 art centres across the UK that have all been given a small bursary to make a piece of work that celebrates the town that art centre is in.
Mm-hmm.
And we have been chosen, and Trowbridge Town Hall has been chosen, and we've been put together. We don't know Trowbridge well.
No.
We got chosen because we've worked a lot with the people who run Trowbridge Town Hall, and we've done a lot of Arts Council projects before, and we've worked with sort of local theatre shows, and we've made funny, silly shows about serious things, and this seemed the sort of thing that would really interest us, and it does.
Yeah.
But we don't know your town at all. We're outsiders.
Yep, we've been there a number of times now, but now there's a second lockdown, obviously, so we're not backing and forthing as much as we used to.
No, we've been about 10 times, and we've interviewed lots of different people and asked them what they think about the town, what they're passionate about, what makes it a great town, what makes it, in their view, not a great town. And the responses have been many and varied, and often, unfortunately, a little bit negative. And that's where we're trying to step in and change the story. I believe civic pride is really important, and I think it's really important that you remember that where you're from has a value and is a great place, because it's only as good as you're willing to make it. And the idea of this project, if nothing else, is to celebrate somewhere a bit forgotten, perhaps a little bit unloved, that isn't quite the Froome, but in many ways, because of that, is perhaps a little bit more interesting and a little bit more special, in my view, because it's a little bit more real and a little bit less like a sort of model village. Originally, I'm from a place called Reading, which many of you will have changed trains at, but few people have really experienced the great beauty that is that town.
Can you ever really experience Reading?
Well, Reading is a fantastic, slightly similar town in that it was built on industry, much like Trowbridge. The industry in Reading was biscuits, which I feel is very appropriate. The other thing about Reading is that it's on a canal, also very similar to Trowbridge.
That's two things.
And the thing that I like to say about Reading the most is that apparently Queen Victoria commissioned to have a statue of herself put in every major town across the UK during her reign.
As you do.
And Reading is the only one where she insisted she be looking away. So I want to reclaim the civic pride of Trowbridge in spite of that, because I want to do it for my hometown, and I hope that your hometown you feel the same way. Paddy, what about you? Where are you from?
Well, I am from the illustrious town of Carterton, jewel of the South, as I call it. Carterton is a small community on the outskirts of Oxfordshire, primarily built as temporary housing for troops for RAF Bryce Norton, and then was sort of left behind when we stopped the particular war.
Whatever war that was.
Whatever war it was. I mean, no one's counting anymore, right? And Carterton very quickly became quite unloved because, as is the case with I think a lot of towns, especially in Britain, the county council and the town council don't necessarily see eye to eye sometimes. And a lot of the county funding in Oxfordshire goes towards Oxford, or the slightly more picturesque places such as Chipping Norton, David Cameron's hometown, and places that are considered more postcard.
Sure.
Whereas Carterton just kind of got...
You can't get a postcard of Carterton.
No, you can't.
It's not available.
And if you make
shop.
one, they'll destroy it. I had my first ever job in Carterton, where I worked at the ferret races, collecting bets.
Paddy, by the way, if you can't tell, is 115.
I'm 115 years old. I worked at the ferret races until it was shut down for being illegal.
Yes.
So that's very much the kind of place Cardston is.
It's a small town.
It's a small town. I have fond memories of it, but a lot of people don't.
Now, as well as those being our hometowns, if you don't know who we are, we thought we'd give you a little taste. We normally make silly, fun songs like this. Yeah. You've got a terrible face. 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 You've got a horrible face. You've got a horrible face. You've got a horrible face, but you're rich. So,
little things
very
like that.
silly. That's the sort of thing we do normally when we're. That's what we do for a living. But this year, rather than tour the UK to a huge number of half-empty art centres, as is our usual way of spending the year, we're obviously locked down, and we're trying to get to know your town, the town of Trowbridge. Joining us today are two brilliant guests. The first of which, Stewart Palmen, is a councillor. We talked about the council problems in Carterton, and we'll come on to that. Stewart is a brilliant man, and we've already met him. We went and had tea together in the Trowbridge Town Hall, and we discussed lots of things about the town, and we also discussed his Finnish ancestry, so we can talk about that as well. And then after that, in the show, we're going to be joined by Jen Hamblin, who is an artist who is currently working on a project with two other artists, also about Trowbridge, and we're going to talk about that because that really corresponds well. Hello guys, I'll bring you on in just a moment. If we could, Rob, is it possible, Jen, if you could unmute your mic just for a second, and we're going to bring Jen up on screen for a second. Jen, I am very excited about talking to you in a moment, but I just want to say you're in your studio, you're an artist, and you're a visual artist, and one of the greatest things about visual art that we are thoroughly lacking as comedian musicians is at the end of a hard day's graft, your art is literally on your hands. Could you show us your... you are literally covered in your work.
Yeah.
No matter how hard Paddy and I grok...
Fabric dye, don't come on.
Oh, so, okay.
But no matter how hard we work, we don't have lyrics on our finger to show for it. Thanks, Jen. Sorry about that. We'll do the proper interview in a moment. We thought we'd do a long song before we start chatting to the guests.
Yep.
Now, this is a song... Are you going to stand for this?
Yeah. Just because I can't play sitting down. I'm not used to playing sitting down.
Well, we don't normally play through Zoom.
No.
That's all new. So this next song is, I think, a couple of years old, and we wrote it about pubs. There's lots of pubs in Trowbridge, and the reason that we wrote this song really was a terrible fear of gentrification spreading through the world. This song is called "You Are Not a Pub." Where have all the old men gone? They are not here, there's something wrong. My feet are tired, my mouth is dry. I want a pint of mild and scampi fries. But you've got stuff with asymmetric hair, and you've written the word gastro everywhere. I want ales in jugs, I want to listen to sugs. I want to be where the air is thick with bugs. I want pickled eggs and scratchings, not hummus and pizza. What do you mean you don't serve bitter? Your staff don't need work, they need a babysitter. You're a pub, not a hipster. How can you be on Twitter? You are not a pub. If your lights come on at 11:01,
You are not a pub.
if your landlord isn't just a little bit racist,
You are not a pub.
jugs of cocktails, some of them with milk in.
You are not a pub.
If your fruit machine has been replaced with a DJ,
You are not a pub.
if you have more than one variety of wine,
You are not a pub.
empty restaurant room, can't drink in there.
You are not a pub.
If you haven't any genuine taxidermy,
You are not a pub.
oh look over there, it's Hugh Fernley Whittingstall.
You are not a pub.
If you order apple sours and it's available,
Wi-Fi.
Not a pub.
Lighting.
Not a pub.
Twitter feed.
Not a pub.
Tapnard.
No.
Name tag.
Not a pub.
Instagram.
Not a pub.
Soymilk.
Not a pub.
Dubstep.
Not a pub.
Polybag.
No.
Breakfast.
Not a pub.
Speed.
Not a pub.
Speed.
Not a pub.
Skrillex.
Not a pub.
Tea Life.
Not a pub.
Not a pub.
Not a pub.
Not a
Not a
pub.
pub. You are not a pub. Where did you go? We wrote that song about the perils of gentrification.
Yep.
And one of the things you can say about Trowbridge, there's lots of brilliant things you can say about Trowbridge, but one of the things you absolutely can say is that hasn't happened yet.
Yes, exactly. That is one of the
small
upsides.
mercies.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's welcome to the chat our first guest, Stewart Palmen. Please join us and unmute your microphone. Thank you so much for
Yep.
Yes, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Glad it's Friday. I don't know whether
Friday. We spoke earlier. You've had a curry.
You've had a curry.
I've had a curry and I'm on some rather cheap
Cheap.
House Sainsbury's Pinot Grigio. Yeah.
Lovely.
No gentrification going on here, I'm afraid.
Yeah, he's on the Grige. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. You're a Lib Dem councillor.
Yes, yeah.
You are, I believe, the leader of the council.
Yes, for my sins, I think I didn't take a step backwards like everybody else, and we're at the last of a 4-year session, and normally whoever's the leader of the council gets totally hammered at not from an alcoholic perspective, from an attack perspective at this point in time. So I think I was the only one who wants to do it, but I'm really proud to be doing it.
Oh, good. Tell us a bit about. So, how did you end up in local politics? And also, in fact, perhaps let's go back further. How did you end up in Trowbridge?
Right, in Trowbridge, I worked in the electronics industry for a long time and made some money in that. I ended up, I've lived in Hong Kong, Singapore, I've lived in the southeast of England, and I've lived in Swindon.
Oh,
Hey.
All in Chip in Sodbury, that's where I started up from.
Wow.
So, it's all there. But we were living in the southeast and wanted to downsize and move back to the southwest of England to be near my aged parents. And it's 14 years ago, and we looked at a few houses in the southwest, just almost picked up randomly, just to get a feel for the market, and saw one in Trowbridge, which I'd never been to in my life. Like, I don't think I knew of it, and I didn't know. It wasn't a place that people had said, "Oh, you must pop round and visit Trowbridge." But we looked at this house and fell in love with it, and something about the place and its potential.
yeah.
It looked like somewhere that had a powerful past, and the planners had messed up big time,
Yeah.
and it just felt like it had huge potential, and it felt like this was the place we should be. And literally between seeing that house and then living in Trowbridge was less than 3 months. It just all slopped together, and I retrained from electronics to being a teacher, and ended up teaching at Clarendon College just around the corner.
Right.
My 2 girls were both at secondary school age. They went to the same college, and it was just perfect for us. How I got into local politics, I didn't see that one coming really. But I got involved in the local church, and I set up a group called the Street Pastors that go round at closing time, essentially, in the pubs and clubs, and help people out who maybe have had a few too many sherbets, and give out flip-flops for girls who can no longer function within their high heels, and just like be the adult in the room and diffuse a few situations, and that ran really well. And it's still going, the organisation.
I've seen that.
Um,
I've seen footage of that. You sort of people handing out bottles of water at clubs as they close
Yeah.
and help them. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, and just you can really step in. You can see if somebody's guiding a young lady home who has had too many and is not really in control of what she's up to, and stop them bundling them into a taxi. It was so needed, and got involved in that. But that is works together with the police and the local council. So I got to know a few councillors that way. The town council was short of a couple of councillors who had resigned, and they didn't want to hold an election because elections cost a few £1,000s.
Right.
So the local parties had agreed that they would have that they would get one Conservative and then one non-Conservative was essentially it, and co-opt them and not have an election. Somebody said, "Oh, that's Stewart, but he's a good guy. We'll get him on board, and he can be our non-Conservative." And that was great for me because I wouldn't have stood for an election. I wouldn't have got involved otherwise. And I did that for 2 years as an independent, and got to know how the town was working, what the planning apps were that were coming in, and I couldn't let go of it. It was something I just felt like I'm in the right place at the right time, taking all this on board. And then when it came to an election, I became slightly more political and joined the Lib Dems, and they printed all my leaflets. No, I mean because of my political allegiance.
Yeah.
And no, that is seriously true. I'm centrist type of chap, so that's where I ended up. And and then I got elected for the central Trowbridge area for the town council, and I did 4 years there. The next batch, I could see that the real power is within the county council. The town council has a certain amount of say in things, but in terms of planning applications and in terms of large sums of cash, the county council is where the authority is. So at the 4 years ago, at the last local elections, I stood as a town and county councillor.
So counties where the sausage is really made.
Mm.
That's right. And here in Wiltshire County Council tends to focus a lot of its attentions on places that aren't Trowbridge.
Yes,
They tend
over
to
here.
focus a lot of attention, especially say on Salisbury, and almost all the other towns around here have gained leisure centres. They've gained lots of investment, but the county town has been somewhat ignored. And I felt that being on there, being a voice for Trowbridge would be really useful. And I also managed to displace a Tory councillor,
Always a victory. Yeah.
which made me very happy. But
Obviously, Paddy is being very partisan.
I know I am.
no. And I will say this: after being on Wiltshire Council, and on Wiltshire Council, I'm on the planning committee. I'm on corporate parenting panel. I'm also on the fostering panel, and I get very much involved in the youth service side of things, which is something I wasn't so much aware of, which I absolutely love. And there are some absolutely great Conservative councillors. I think once we get into committee, once we're talking about a specific task, then the actual differences are an awful lot smaller than they are when we go into politics mode.
Okay, brilliant. That's a lovely thing to say, and very important at this time, a time right now where we're a pretty divided nation, set of nations, and world. So Trowbridge itself, I mean, what do you saw in Trowbridge a huge amount of potential?
Yeah.
And I mean, I think I would rather be somewhere like Trowbridge that has a lot of potential and a lot of sort of reality than somewhere a bit sort of picture postcard. Anyway, that's just me. But is that? What do you think? What's the future for Trowbridge in your head? What would you like? What I'm trying to ask is, if you could change things about Trowbridge today and just snap your fingers, what would you do?
Well, I think one of the things that has happened in this last 14 years is removing the derelict sites.
Yeah.
So we had where the cinema now is. There was an area called Mount Crushmore, which was the old Tesco site. And there was a pile of broken up rubble for years and years and years. And we also had another factory site, the Peter Black site, which was by the side of there. So having all those areas redeveloped is good. The next area that really needs redevelopment is the old sausage factory of Bowyer side, which is now in Ox Mills, and we're beginning to see the first things happen there. We're beginning to see the markets occur on there, and the company that own it, run by Jonathan Dean, and they're doing a really good job putting the brand out there. They've applied to repair and rebuild the listed buildings at the front. That's going to go ahead very shortly, and it's right on the edge of being redeveloped, and that's very exciting. So that's something I see. In the town centre itself, there's lots of sort of little pockets of area that are undeveloped. In front of Jen's art gallery and workshop, there's a huge kind of dead area really that isn't used, and that needs reworking. But we have this very large opportunity with the Future High Street Fund, where we've applied for nearly £24 million to rework the town centre in a sustainable way that will make it a more attractive place to go to and do business, but also make it an awful lot better for the people of Trowbridge. And there's so many listed buildings and wonderful things that are not known about right in the heart of the centre. We've got more listed buildings than Bradford on Avon. So I can, if we get a good chunk of that money, I think we will see and you're talking about the town hall there. That whenever we look at the town and we try to say, well, where is the centre of the town? We literally put our finger on the town hall and then draw a circle around that. And so I'm excited about the potential changes, and we should find out about whether we've got that funding by they're now saying before Christmas.
Okay, well,
but very shortly.
Well, fingers crossed for that. That would be kind of really game changing for the town. But also, I think what's really nice though, talking to you about this, is a feeling of that's a really positive answer you've given. We've been speaking to last week. We spoke to Layla, who obviously runs the organic.
Oh yeah.
What's the word? The shop.
Zero waste.
Zero waste store.
Yeah. No way.
We are under us.
And the week.
We are under. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, well done. Very good.
And
the week before we spoke to Meg Mosley, who is a performance artist, and they really talked about the way that you sort of the way you can improve your hometown is to do it yourself. Is to just kind of create something from nothing, which they've both done in very different ways. And what's really great is that you've made me feel very much like that's being backed up on the inside of people trying to also lift up the town with more funding and more
infrastructure.
Yeah,
that's right. And the thing I see that is different from say 10 years ago, especially, is we've got above the critical mass of those people all wanting to do it and actually doing it to make it happen. I would say 14 years ago we didn't.
Right. Okay.
The naysayers were, we tried that, it doesn't work. Oh, this won't happen. We shouldn't do this. We shouldn't do that. They were in control. Now you've got the guys who've got some vision, but also were prepared to match that with venture of actually doing it. And I know I've been waxing on about how great the Future High Street Fund will be. Even if it doesn't come in, I'm confident that the Trowbridge is heading in the right direction. Places like the changes that have gone in the town hall, and Jennifer's set up the drawing project. There's so much stuff that's kind of happened without anybody's help from anybody.
Sure.
Because people are prepared to do that to make their place better. So we're not wholly dependent on that. It's the people, and the people are in the right place at the right time, getting on with it.
That's brilliant.
It's hugely uplifting as well. 'Cause it can sometimes be a bit tough to feel pride in your town, but actually that's something we have found in bags in Trowbridge once you actually have a conversation with someone about it.
That's right.
The veneer drops very quickly of being, like I often am about my hometown, immediately dismissive of it. And then if someone goes, wait, but what was it actually like? You're like, well, it's obviously brilliant, but I don't like it. And then you realise you do, and you're just vested in it. So if you feel like it's being unloved, then it isn't.
That's to do with anything other than lockdown, which is fair enough. My favourite town in the UK and the world is Durham.
Yep.
As it's so leafy, even in the city centre, very pedestrian friendly. And it would be even better if Mr. Cummings didn't ever visit. We'll leave that at the door for now. Like I said, we're trying to be very partisan and hide our deep socialist politics. Now, a few other very nice comments. A lot of people saying some Edinburgh, Durham, these beautiful places, more activities, more interesting shops, better landscaping.
And we're now hearing that the stream might have frozen.
Oh yeah, sorry.
So-
Thomas Kenyon asked, has it frozen for others or is it just me?
And everyone seems to agree that it's everyone. So we might have to go back over that in a second.
Oh, it's come back on.
And it now seems to have come back on.
All right, fine. Yeah. Okay, and also my mother is in the chat. Hello, Mum. And she says, lovely smiles, everyone. I don't know if you can tell if you've been watching the show, I've had a new cap put on my front tooth.
Oh, right.
So she's right. Lovely smiles indeed. Rob, is everything all right with the tech? We're just getting word that it might have frozen for a few people.
Well, no, but the internet is fine, so I have no idea what's happening.
Okay, I'm just going to say, Paddy, if you would like to
I
introduce.
think
Jen
we're
Hamblin.
about. I think we're about to come back on by the looks of it.
Oh, okay.
It looks like it might have been a YouTube error, actually, more than an internet one by the looks of it. So I
Well,
think we are now rolling. Oh, what I might do. I'm just keeping. Are you guys watching the stream as well? I'm just keeping.
Yes, we're trying to keep an eye on the stream.
Also, a quick shout out to Julia Bender for a truly cracking gag. Yes, Frozen, just let it go.
Oh, there we go. Yeah,
Well
right
worth it.
up.
Lovely work.
Marvellous. So I'm going to
I
gently
think-
start trying to go ahead, even though I can see it sort of juddering a little bit. And if people in the chat could keep telling us whether or not it's frozen, and we will keep trying at our end to make it work. But I'm looking at my face
We're on.
freeze, and we are on.
Sonic Saturn says we're back. Okay, so thank you very much, Stuart, for chatting to us. We're going to come back to you in a bit, and we're going to open it up to everyone. But that was really positive and really great. I think what you said about it having a powerful past, Trowbridge, and since then it's started to feel a bit forgotten, and the planners have maybe messed that up. It's a town with potential, and even more so now than when I think you moved there 14 years ago from. I don't believe you moved directly from Finland.
No. I moved from Royal Tunbridge Wells.
Oh, lovely.
Ooh.
Lovely. I've never been to Royal Tunbridge Wells, but if you look up my Wikipedia page, it says I was born there, which isn't true. I obviously didn't write my own Wikipedia page, but I've been in a few TV jobs, and so someone's made one for me. And apparently that was where I was born. I've never been. I don't even really know where it is, but if anyone would like to change that, I was born in St Albans in Hertfordshire. Also don't know that place left before I had any memories. But anyway, let's leave that at the door for the moment, and welcome to the chat, Jen Hamblin. Jen, are you with us? Can you hear us? And,
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
we can hear
Yeah,
you.
we've got you. Hello.
No.
Oh, wonderful! Yes, the stream's moving again, so we are all fine. Thank you for joining us today, Jen. And
Welcome.
I know we've already done the big reveal that you're in your studio, but it's
Yeah.
just the imagery is just
It really
lovely.
is
And if
lovely.
we're going to be talking about the arts and Trowbridge and people who get stuff done and make things. I think you're a rather good person to talk to.
I've been here all day.
Jen, tell us about the project that you're working on, and you're one of 3 artists working on this project for Trowbridge.
Yeah. So we are doing in visual art what you guys are doing musically. So we're really interested in basically Trowbridge past, present and future, really. And we're interested in the place and the people, and how the people relate to the place and how the place relates to the people. So how we all kind of interact and work within it, and how we see it and what we think about it and what we want for it, really, and our wishes and our dreams. So there's sort of 3 different tiers to what we're doing. Our exhibition is called Illuminating the Overlooked. And it will be opening when the museum launches its new it's wonderful. What they've done in the Trowbridge Museum is just stunning, and I've been really lucky to see it kind of developing. So they've got a new exhibition space in there, which we're going to be very fortunate to be the first ones in. So my artwork, my personal artwork is my background's textiles, and I use my textile techniques that I've used to create big kind of pieces of screen printed artwork, which comes from drawings and kind of other bits and pieces.
Mhm.
So we've been doing what we call photogeographic walks, and we've been going out and about in Trowbridge, a bit like you guys.
Yeah.
We've been just looking at the place and taking photographs, really. And the thing that I am visually interested in is being able to capture kind of things that people would not normally consider beautiful. So I said to you earlier on, a friend of mine who a long time ago said to me, I wish I could see things the way that you see things. You know, you see a wall and you don't see a brick wall, you see colour and texture and shadow and shape and pattern and all sorts of things like that. Yeah, exactly. So my bit is to kind of look at those places, you know, the derelict places that Stuart was talking about, you know, Inox Mills and the graffiti and the skate park and, you know, a at the moment, today I've been working on a piece of work that's based on one of the car parks and all the peeling paint off the car park and where the sun has kind of eroded it and things. And you know, it's a car park stairwell, which most people obviously avoid for lots of reasons.
Yeah, sure.
And I'm kind of creating a piece of artwork about a car park stairwell. So, and what I'm doing is I'm trying to show that there is something beautiful in absolutely everything. And Trowbridge is the perfect place to do that. The other thing we're doing is, it's about how people resonate with the place. And one of the things that actually I got a bit caught up in the skate park. My last piece of work was really based on the skate park, and I started talking to the Trowbridge Cllr TSB, and these guys were kind of instrumental in putting the skate park together and the original graffiti and all of that. And they've been really keen to get involved with my project as well, which is great. But I kept going back to it and going back to it and going back to it. And one of the things that I really found was in lockdown, I went there and I was obviously completely, totally on my own, and the sun was shining and the graffiti was just illuminated. And I kind of sort of felt that I've never really felt the presence of people more. And, you know, like, for me, I sort of zoom in and I take these little pictures. There's the tiny scuffs on the rails where the boards have kind of scraped over all these tricks that they've done and stuff like that. And, you know, the people of the town have created that thing, you know, that you know, kids over time doing their tricks have made that wonderful thing in the piece of metal. And, you know, they've had a stamp on the place. And it's, you know, so that's kind of what I'm resonating with. We're also doing, it's going to be called, it's going to have a name, but we haven't decided what the name is going to be. But we're doing a sort of mobile curiosity sculpture. And that sculpture is going to travel Trowbridge, and it's going to go to different venues. Hopefully, we're going to do a planned venue, so it will go somewhere like Town Hall or to a school or something like that, community.
Brilliant.
Basically, things that people do within the community, and we're going to just sort of pop up in places randomly. And it'll have a couple of artists with it. We will be running art projects from the cart, but also it will be interactive. So we're looking at kind of the history and the heritage, the woolen industry, Bowyer's sausage factory, various things like that, Usher's brewery.
Sure.
And so there'll be drawers and things to pull out and pop out. We're hoping to have loom wheels and things, and maybe some sausages coming off and all sorts of things that people can kind of...
Yeah, great. Okay, cool.
And, you know, we want it to have sound and maybe some video, possibly some of the skate park, you know, the guys that do the videos there, and just hopefully for it to be a little bit of an extravaganza, a bit of a talking point. Katie, the artist that is involved with us with that, did the balloon sculpture outside the town hall, and I don't know if you...
oh, cool, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so we spent a day blowing up 7,000 biodegradable balloons that we kind of hoisted up outside the back of the town hall, which was incredible. But when we took them down, we walked them through the park, and the children and the grown-ups were like, whoa, you know, and so we had this kind of big popping fest that, you know, everyone kind of got involved with. And, you know, going back to the sort of sense of community, I think that we do have quite a big sense of community here. And, you know, when you do something and something like that, people really respond. And we've had, you know, here we do quite a lot of stuff with children and families and parents, and run workshops and classes. And, you know, unfortunately at the moment we can't, but people are still with us, you know, people are still here and kind of keeping us going. And, you know, we've got our website going and various artists that are doing Zoom things, and, you know, just trying to spread the word. So, yeah.
It's right. It is a hard, you know, much like we were saying earlier, it is a hard time to get things done at the moment.
Yeah.
But that's, I don't know, something that really, I don't know, flickered in my brain there, what you're saying, is the idea of kind of seeing the unseen. I think that sort of, once again, directly relates to when people are let's say, critical of where they're from or where they live. A complaint that's often levelled against places like Carston and Reading and Trowbridge, especially amongst young people, actually, is usually saying something like, "There's nothing to do here." Like, that's when we went around. We talked to we spent the day talking to teenagers just around the town. Most of them were like, "Well, I'm just bored. There's nothing to do." And then the second you told me about that balloon thing. There are things to do, and largely it seems to rely on the population to create those things for themselves, perhaps not having had the support over the past 20 years or so that usually, I don't know, that usually, hopefully, someone would provide with money or something like that to build, a huge, like a huge centre where you can do whatever you want or things like that.
Sure.
But actually, when it comes to the people to do it, there are all these creatives and interesting people around who want to do stuff and are doers and aren't just going to go, oh, maybe one day this place will be better. They go, well, why don't we all just go outside and I'm gonna put all these balloons out, or I'm gonna set off this firework and everyone's gonna go brilliant. Like, this is
around the cart around Trowbridge and get people to do some artwork.
Exactly. It falls to people who are willing to put that time and energy into where they're from. And I think everyone is in their own way, because it's like making your own fun in a way, but it's so easy.
I thought you were going to say fudge.
It's like making your own fudge, let's just do it, guys. But it's like, that's how you engage with the rest of your community, and you see someone else, making their own fun, for want of a better term, and then you go,
I could do that.
Yeah, I could do that. I could, it's like skate park is a skate park in itself, I think, is something that crosses all of these towns. It's exactly the same in Carton, and I said it on last week's show as well. It's like, that was the hub of where we all used to hang out, because we'd go, well, there's nothing else, there's nothing here. And there was loads of stuff here, but then we ended up turning that place into our own.
Yes.
And I think you sometimes don't see things like that with communities, because you think of a skate park, if you're not a skateboarder or you're not a teenager at the time or whatever, you think of a skate park and you go, oh, that's where the young people hang out and I don't go there. And then when you go and take a closer look, of course they will have, like, carved things into the side. There'll be damage where people have tried that same trick 1,000 times, or there'll be, or there'll be people there this is our place that we have a community and we hang out and we create ideas together, be that skateboarding videos or graffiti or whatever you want. Like, that's where they're trying to make Trowbridge happen.
Yeah, I think the other
It's
thing
about owning it as well. It's like about owning it. It's art. We're here.
Yeah, make it your own.
It's up to us to make it work, and it's up to us to make it enjoyable. And because I guess that we're talking about sort of that initially where people say, oh, it's a shit. Oh, I think that there's a hesitation, and we get that in here. People come to Court Street and they go, well, I can't paint, I can't draw, I'm not artistic, I'm not creative. And you're like, well, hang on, come in.
Yeah, totally.
Spend some time, because when you've spent an hour in here, it's just kind of taking people outside their comfort zones and allowing them the opportunities to explore something that they've never explored before. And they come back, and they come back, and they come back, and they might come and do some bats with Alex, and then they see me doing a bit of lino printing in the corner or doing something else. And they're like, oh, what's that you're doing? That looks interesting. And then and then they chat, and they and within even our space, there's little kind of bubbles of people that sort of now have joined an art group, or now come to a knitting session, or come regularly to do glass. And I think we also provide a space where people can just be just be themselves. And with everything that is going on at the moment, and the world is so nuts, actually having somewhere to just somebody to show you something creative, and just to be able to be still for a minute and to do something with your hands and absorb yourself in something is really interesting. And
vital as well.
It really is.
Part of this art project is to take that out into the community and be able to, people who might not necessarily come through the door ever, can experience something creative and something artistic and involve themselves with the town and look at it and see it and go, oh, okay, it is all right, it's great. Oh, look at this little bit. This tiny, mini, like 2-inch by 2-inch square of Trowbridge is gorgeous.
Yeah.
I'm going to get some pencils out.
I'm going to do it.
And that's brilliant. I hope we can stay in touch and keep working together across these two projects, because
that would be great.
They are very similar in many ways. I think we've been doing so much of talking to people and not really thinking about the buildings and the places and the spaces. And I think we could really learn a lot from you.
And at the moment, ours is the other way round. So
Yeah.
that could really come together.
Really fascinating. Stuart, was there anything? I know that you and Jen know each other through met many times through a shared love of the wine that's available at gallery openings. Stuart, was there anything you want? We're going to wrap up in a moment. Was there anything you wanted to say to Jen or ask about the project?
I think it was interesting talking about the skate park because my children, when they were growing up here, that was their biggest nothing to do here, and they all gravitated to the skate park. When I look at it, they met friends or made friends from other schools. They got to know people who were at St Augustine, some from John McGaughan, and those friendships lasted longer than the ones within their schools. And one of their friends is a chap called Miller who used to do quite a lot of painting kind of everywhere. And he's ended up doing some really good graffiti work in Trowbridge and ended up painting one of our new youth centres, which is a container in Studley Green. And there's a very tight, a nice mesh of people. It's almost, we're a town, but it's almost village-like. You can walk around the centre of town and meet so many people, and I think it is quite unique like that. But the idea of a centralised youth space that's owned by the youth, that's not something that the adults are putting on, here's the youth club, come and see us here, but is, here's this space, what do you want to do with it, guys? And I think, they talked about that potentially in the town hall or whether we redevelop Castle Place, but having a youth space that is not just a skate park. The skate park's fantastic, but having something that they feel ownership of, I think is pretty important. So that was the thing I'd like to add to that.
Yeah,
It's lovely. Brilliant.
Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Paddy is just standing in the way of my wife is busy trying to get in shot with her glass of wine and bag of crisps. We're in the process of moving house and it's a bit of a mess, and I apologise. Not to you guys, but to her. She's accepted the apology. In other news, Dave Natras writes on the chat that he has corrected my Wikipedia page to say now that I'm from St Albans, not from Royal Tunbridge Wells. But he did say that he doesn't have a citation, and it's very possible the admins at Wikipedia will change that back.
Just link to this show.
So I'll link to this show. Stuart, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for chatting to us. Likewise, Jen, you have been brilliant, and it has been a real joy speaking to you both and talking about Trowbridge. Stuart, we will be back in touch with you at some point to ask you lots of questions about the town.
Yeah, sure. And I'll make up notes.
And Jen, I think we're going to have to bring these projects together and
definitely.
See what happens.
Yeah, it'd be great. It'd be nice for maybe you guys to come for a coffee at Court Street after when we're allowed.
When that's allowed. That would be really brilliant. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you've enjoyed today's show. As ever, we are indebted to the brilliant Mr. Rob Sell, who is responsible for all of the technology and making this happen, and also stopping us from going mad. If you don't know Johnny the Baptist, you won't know that Rob does everything for us. He plays the piano during gigs. He drives
does the singing, does the guitar.
Drives the van. He knows how to turn things on.
Yeah.
We don't work without him, and I mean we can't.
Yeah.
Also to David and absolutely everyone at Trowbridge Town Hall, and to the people at Arts Council England for paying for this to happen and getting us started. We've really enjoyed talking to you both. Thank you very much, Stuart and Jen. Join us. We won't be back next week because I am quite literally moving house on next Friday, and I cannot make the show. So we're going to do a show in 2 weeks' time, and we have already confirmed some of the guests for that show. Do you remember who they are?
Oh, of course I do, but that's a surprise for another time.
So Emily, our producer, and thank you. Sorry, I forgot to say Emily. Emily is absolutely incredible and does a huge amount of. She books the guests. She organises us and makes us less incompetent. And she told me, make sure you advertise who's on the next show because I've booked them in advance with a view to the fact that you can do that. Well, I can't remember. And Emily, I am very
Truly
sorry again. We've got 2 weeks until the next show, so hopefully you'll be able to find out who that is. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure. Good night.
Have a good weekend.
Everyone. Bye bye.